guys, Cody here. Welcome back to RSG Outdoors. Today's video is a bait catching video, but it's focused on cast nets. So I'm going to teach you guys everything you need to consider in order to pick a cast net for your fishing applications. I'm going to show you guys the most effective way that I know of to throw a cast net of any size and still effectively catch bait. Then we're going to go out and put it into practice. Alright, so we're going to get into cast nets and the things you need to consider when choosing one for your applications. And the very first thing you need to consider is the law. Laws regarding cast nets can vary by state, and they can encompass things like the mesh size that you can use, the radius and diameter of the cast net, and most notably the types of fish that you're allowed to capture and keep when caught in a cast net versus those that you have to release. So, I've got a cast net laying on the floor here, and we're going to run through the various parts of it, and I'll tell you what they're for and why they're important to you. So the very first thing is going to be your hand line. Now most of them have either a loop, a cuff, something like that at the top so that you can attach it to either a cleat on your boat, put it around your wrist. If you're going to put it around your wrist, one way that I normally do it is the loop that they have on it. I run the line through it, put it on, and pull it tight. Make sure you're considering the type of water that you're in, snags, whether or not you have current, something pushing the boat around, because you don't want to be tied to a cast net that you could be snagged up, pushed away from, maybe pulled out of your boat, and then you're attached to something that's hung up on the bottom. So just take safety into consideration here. Your hand line is generally between 20 and 40 feet long, depending on what kind of cast net you buy. From your hand line, you're going to go to a swivel of some kind for most manufacturers, and this is just because as the cast net sinks, it can shift and move. Your position on it can shift and move, just to keep everything from getting all twisted up and making a mess. Your swivel is then connected to some heavy-duty monofilament or nylon lines, depending on what your cast net is made of. These are called braille lines. Now these lines run all the way from your swivel down to your lead line, which we'll get to in a moment. This one has a little braille line separator that just kind of keeps things spread out a little bit. It's just a piece of plastic with some slots in it that the braille lines are run through. And then we have the top of the net, which is this yellow plastic ring here. This is called the horn. The horn is the top of the opening of the netting material itself. And then from the horn down to the lead line, we have the netting material. And if you hear anybody say something about mesh size, they're referring to the size of the gaps between any two pieces of its main line. So how wide are the gaps that fish could swim through potentially? So our braille lines are running inside of this net, all the way down to this black line here, and this is called the lead line. This is where your weight is located. It's what pulls your cast net down into the water and causes it to close up. Now, this lead line, as I mentioned before, is connected to your braille lines. So when you throw the cast net out and it sinks down, whether you let it hit the bottom or not, doesn't matter. When you pull on the hand line to tighten everything back up, the braille lines pull the lead line and it kind of closes like a little basket around the fish. Okay, so let's get into the considerations for you choosing a cast net. The first thing you want to think about is the size of your cast net and the body of water that you're going to be operating on. My recommendation would be to throw the largest cast net that you can reasonably throw and still be within the law. You're going to want to base that off of what kind of environment are you throwing it from and what kind of body of water are you throwing it into. If you're standing on the front of a boat or standing on the dock throwing into a large open lake, it might be reasonable for you to throw a 10-foot radius cast net and you won't have any issues at all. However, if you're throwing in a small creek trying to catch minnows for smallmouth bass or trout fishing or whatever, you may want to reduce down to a 3 or even a 4-foot radius cast net for that application. The next thing you're going to want to think about is your mesh size. Your mesh size is going to determine how small of a bait you're going to go with. Mesh sizes generally range anywhere from 1/4 inch size all the way up to 2 inches or so. Obviously, larger mesh sizes are going to allow smaller fish to get through, so make sure you understand the size of the bait fish that you're targeting There are general guidelines out there that you can find online, usually anything from 1/4 inch all the way up to 3/8 inch mesh. You're looking for anywhere from 1/2 inch to 2 inch bait fish. 3/8 to 1/2 mesh, you're looking for 1 to 3 inch bait fish. 1/2 to 1 inch, you're looking at 6 to 9 inch bait fish, and so on and so forth from there. The next thing you'll want to consider is the weight of your lead line. Now, the lead lines can come in various weights, and you'll generally see these listed in X number of pounds per radius foot. That ranges anywhere from about 3/4 of a pound or 0.75 pounds up to, I think I've seen cast nets at 2 pounds per radius foot. And what this is going to impact is how fast the net sinks and how quickly or how much it closes as it sinks. Generally heavier nets sink faster, so they're going to be more suited to deeper water applications, and they also tend to close a little bit faster as they sink, and this just generally helps with the sinking process as a whole. Your mesh size can also contribute to your sinking speed, so if you're trying to reach shad or something like that in deeper water, a slightly larger mesh size with a heavier weight is going to do better. Make sure you have a long enough hand line on your cast net in order to achieve the depth that you're after. Alright, so just a couple of things that I definitely want to mention to you if you are getting ready to go purchase a cast net. Don't go out and purchase a cast net and then run out that same day out on the water and start using it. You may end up with a cast net that has a few defects that prevent you from catching the maximum number of fish, may shorten its longevity, that kind of thing. So you're going to want to go and get a cast net, put some thought into it, into what you actually need it for, and take it back home. And just like I have this one here, I just received this new cast net. I ordered this on Amazon. I throw primarily 8-foot cast nets, that's what this one is, and I hang them up in my garage just so I can spread them out and I can inspect the mesh for any kind of defects or tears or nicks. Most companies who make cast nets are more than willing to replace a cast net that has arrived to you with defects in it. So make sure you inspect one really well just to make sure it isn't damaged. Once you throw it in the water though, it's on you, and if you tear it apart, then you're out whatever amount of money you spend on one, and cast nets aren't always cheap. You can get some cheaper ones, but if you pay for quality, you'll get quality back out of it. Also, cast nets that you have just purchased have been stored in boxes, buckets, whatever the containment item is, for an unknown amount of time. They generally don't have a manufactured date stamp or anything on them, so it's been bound up and bunched up, and it's just a good idea to let one hang and kind of stretch out and let everything sit naturally for a little bit of time before you take one out and use it. This one's been hanging for about a day. When I first pulled it out of the container, the lead lines were about 3 inches off the ground, and now that it's been hanging overnight, you can hear the lead lines hitting the ground now. So everything's kind of where it needs to be. It's right at its 8-foot mark, and it's ready for me to use. You're also going to want to hang a cast net up like this to dry after every session out in the water. It will dramatically increase the life of your cast net. Don't hang it out in direct sunlight. Hang it in a tree in your backyard in the shade. Hang it in your garage, just somewhere where it can dry out and it's not going to get beat up and damaged. Okay, so now I'm going to show you all a technique that you can use to throw a cast net of any size. So you're going to start by taking your hand line and putting it around your wrist. If you don't want to put it around your wrist and you want to practice like you're attaching it to a boat, you can lay the end of it on the ground. Coil it up. Until you reach the swivel and the horn. Now I'm left-hand dominant, so all this material is going to go into your dominant hand. This is an 8-foot cast net, so it's a little taller than I am, and because of that I'm going to need to take part of the net and turn it into another coil, placing it into my dominant hand. So to do that, I'm going to pick my arm straight up, and I'm going to reach about halfway or around where my hip is. I'm going to pick the net up and kind of make a coil like this, put it in my hand. So now, when I hold my arm at about a 90-degree angle, the bottom of the net isn't quite touching the ground. I'm then going to take and grab the netting material. I'm going to bunch it up like this, slowly pulling bits of it to me, shaking anything free that looks stuck, until I have roughly half of the net material in my non-dominant hand. I'm going to take that material and place it lead line away from my body into my dominant hand. So now this is away from my body. Everything is now in my dominant hand. If you look at the lead line now, you can see you have two distinct pieces of it running down to what's left hanging free. The piece that's closest to the inside of your body, so in between your arms, you're going to pick that up, opening the net up slightly, placing it in your dominant hand. Reach down and grab the lead line and bring it up level. If I'm aiming at a spot here in the center of my yard, I'm then going to sweep my dominant arm back. I'm going to retain everything in my this lead line in my non-dominant hand until everything has left my dominant hand. So it's going to be a slight sweep back, lifting my shoulder, and the net opens. This net's a little messed up, so it didn't open very well. I can do a little bit better throw than that, but everything can be coiled right back up. Pull the horn. Picked up some yard debris on that one. Open back up, grab hold. Nice open circle. And then as you pull the line in, your braille lines pull your lead line closed. And in the water you'll pull this up and hopefully you have a large number of bait fish in it. Alright, so now that you know how to throw it, let's take it to the water and give it a try. Well, this guy was not the intended target of the cast netting experience, but he's proof that it works. Found this little school of them right here at the mouth. Hey everyone, thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I left the link for you right there. If you still need your outdoor fix, we've got another video for you, and its link is right there. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll catch you next time on RSG Outdoors.